Welcome to the catch-up video, possibly the first and only episode of the catch-up. Basically, I had nothing on my pull list come out last week, but I had been grabbing a bunch of stuff from previous weeks and months that didn't make it into my usual videos because I hadn't fully read them yet. I wasn't caught up. I was building towards doing one of these catch-up videos. I thought it was going to happen on a Saturday, and it just so happened to coincide with this week nothing on my pull list coming out. So I think this is only the second time in the 11 years I started at the beginning of New 52 to start buying comics on a weekly basis again, and twice in those 11 years have I had nothing come out. So this is the second time. We're going to talk about some slightly older books. This should be I don't know, we'll see. So I'm going to start with DC Mech, and I read a preview of this in one of the world's finest issues. I think possibly the Dick Grayson flashback thing. But I liked this. So here's how it starts with just after World War II. We've got basically the JSA versus a giant parademon, and they get stomped. And as a result, they wind up, oops, spoilers, they wind up building giant mech suits. So we skip to the present, and there's a giant Flash mech suit and a giant Batman mech suit as seen on the cover, along with Superman there. There is a, I think, pretty great Superman origin story in this. It's familiar, obviously, but different in a way that involves a giant mech suit, and I found that enjoyable. I do hope, so far so good, that the artist can stay on for the whole series. I haven't completely committed to buying the whole thing yet, but inertia alone might see me through the next 4 issues. So the Earth gets attacked by a single parademon, and as a result, the combined governments of the Earth make mechs. Okay, fine. It's a little bit Pacific Rim, whatever, but here we have Apocalypse taking over Krypton. And there we have giant mech suits. I love it. It's so weird. So Darkseid is driving his planet around the universe, sucking up other planets. Okay, fine. This issue ends with Wonder Woman's emergence, also in a giant mech, as seen here. There is also a Green Lantern mech. So Jordan and Stewart are working together. There is a lantern. This is Alan Scott's lantern, which I found curious. I can't figure out. So in this, Flash's mech has super speed. I don't know if Flash himself has super speed, or if Flash and basically Batman, Hal, and John are just pilots. There's a full body shot of Batman. It's more green than I would expect from Batman, but whatever. I do find it slightly strange, but it's, you know, it's the suspension of disbelief that you have to get through, that basically the whole universe is building giant mechs. Whatever. I'll allow it. But, so there is almost a modern JLA in mech suits. By the end of issue 2, you've got a Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, Flash. 5 not bad. I don't know if it's enough to stop Darkseid, but we'll see. The art, I think, is good. The story is pretty interesting, and I'm enjoying it enough that I'll probably grab issue 3. I'll see what else is coming out that week. If it's a heavy week, then I might skip it and pick it up later. Pick it up in a slower week. But, yeah, in a nutshell, Earth building giant mech suits versus Apocalypse also in giant mech suits, trying to basically Unicron the Earth. I don't know. I'm into it. So up next we have 8 Billion Genies. I I talked about this in one of the weekly videos some time ago. I grabbed issue 1 not in the week that it came out, read it, enjoyed it, was going to pick up issues 2 and 3 that were out at the time, only by that point the news had come out that this had been optioned for a TV series and everyone was snapping these up. So I got issues 2 and 3 as second printings. I think they're up to printing 3 or possibly 4 by now. But these might be available, or you can just wait for the trade that will be able to read the whole thing in, roughly a sitting without having to track stuff down. Anyway, what I find most interesting about this is there's always one of these pages. So each issue is roughly 8 of some unit of measure. So the first issue was the first 8 minutes after 8 billion genies show up on the planet. We then have issue 2 with the first 8 hours. Issue 3 is the first 8 days. Issue 4 is the first 8 weeks. And you can see here that the human population has taken a considerable drop, and the genie population is also massively reduced. So 8 billion genies show up on Earth, seemingly at random. It does get explained. I'll say in issue 4, some answers do come, but I love the dodge of questions that happen in issues 1 through 3. Characters ask questions that they should be asking of these genies, and the genies just kind of brush it off and make jokes, and they're like, we could answer that, but we're not going to because it's more funny to us if you don't know. It's great. But issue 4 does give some answers to things, and it's very enjoyable. But you can see here things are not going well for the human race, and issue 3 is sort of the emergence of superheroes. So people are making their wish with these genies, and some of them wish to be superheroes and villains, and that is dealt with here. I don't know why this one looks pregnant. That's interesting. But superheroes basically is what issue 4 is about, and by the end of this it sets up the next thing. So that hasn't come out yet, but I have added this to my pull list, so I will be talking about issue 5 as soon as that's available. I am very much enjoying this. I was initially told that 8 Billion Genies wasn't as good as Curse Words, which is the previous series that these 2 creators worked on. You can actually see the guy here. So he's actually right there. But I found this to be better than Curse Words. I didn't enjoy Curse Words, but this I think is great. 8 issues. We're halfway through. It will be a TV show on some probably streaming service at some point, but you can get in on the ground floor and you can tell your friends that you knew about it before them. 20th Century Men, I don't remember reading a preview for this. I'm sure Image put one out, but I don't remember it. Basically, you have this here talking about a Soviet hero, a superpowered American president. He is basically a Captain America stand-in, but if he were war-hungry? I don't know. An insane cyborg soldier, which I don't think we've met yet, and an Afghan woman hell-bent on building a better life for her people. And this last one is misleading, because yes, she's an Afghan woman. What it leaves out is she's a genius in a family of geniuses. So, what she wants might become reality more so than somebody else's want. And that's a terribly phrased sentence, but I'm moving on. So this is roughly our main character, and I believe this is the Iron Hero that the back is talking about. He is basically in a robotic gorilla suit. There's a really good shot in here. He's kind of hunched over with these long arms. He's got some booster rockets, so there he is. He's got these long arms. His head is on the front instead of the top. He's usually got his hands resting on the ground. I don't know. I'm not going to continue buying this, and the reason for that is mostly that this is very heavy on words, but there isn't much happening ultimately. So there's a lot of kind of philosophical talk. There are debates. Here's a 2-page spread with just the sheer amount of words that are happening, right? But there's honestly not that much character development or story, plot. There's not much happening. There's just a lot being said and talked about, and I couldn't get into it. The art is good enough. The writing is politic heavy. I'll say that. So it's an alternate 1980s with flashbacks to earlier time periods. There is, I think it starts in the 40s. Well, it starts in Vietnam. But I thought it went back to, there it is, 1948 Russia. And it sort of skips around the 20th century. I believe the present is 1987, 1989, 87. So it's that Cold War era of Russia, US, except with it's a little bit Manhattan Projects, except more heavy on the politics instead of the super science. That's my best explanation of what's happening here, and I'm telling you, I am not going to continue reading this. It was fine, but it's not for me, ultimately. Next, we have Public Domain issues 2 and 3. I really enjoyed issue 1, but I don't think I got on that right away, and I added it to my pull list, but I think by then issue 2 had already come out, so I wound up getting issue 3, but missed 2, and I got them both at the comic shop a week or two ago. Read them, they're great. I will get future issues on time when they come out. But I did talk about issue 1 in one of my weekly videos probably 2 months ago, and I really enjoyed it. It will seem very similar to anyone that's been paying attention to what's been happening with comic creators, comic real world adaptations into movies, which is obvious, but the fight for some creators or creator descendants to get their rights back to characters or to get payments, residuals basically, for their creations. There's a character in this that was a professional comic artist. He worked on a character called The Domain decades ago. The Domain is now a huge deal in movies. I think they say something like there's 7 movies being made or have been made. So it is huge money for the corporation, but the creator is seeing almost nothing of that. He gets tickets to the premiere, basically. And the son is not happy with that. He thinks his family deserves better, particularly his father, but really himself. That more so comes out here, but it's a family drama. It will seem very similar to anyone, as I said, that's been paying attention to recent lawsuits. I believe it was the Seagulls that were suing Disney or Warner's years back over Superman. So it's very good. Not only is it well written, the art is also fantastic. For anyone unfamiliar with Zdarsky's art, I will recommend that you read Sex Criminals, but if you don't want to see a bunch of naked people, you can read this, and it is also excellent. So, highly recommended. I will be talking about this as new issues come out. I think it's supposed to be an ongoing, and I don't know how long this series can last. It seems like it should be maybe a maxi series. I don't know, but I'm enjoying it. I don't know when it's going to end, but I very much recommend it. Here's a weird one. This is the issue that's packed into the McFarlane Toys Page Punchers. So at least Wave 1, I think Wave 2 is going to be a different comic, seemingly focused on Gorilla Grodd, but this is the one that's in the first wave of Page Punchers, and these are the 4 characters that you get in that wave: Batman, Superman, Constantine, and Black Adam, obviously. The writing is okay. The art is curious. So, especially proportions at times, like this Black Adam looks very strange, and Superman, who should be foreshortened a bit because he's behind Black Adam, actually looks monstrously huge. So it makes Black Adam look even more disproportionate. But Dan and I talked about this briefly in the Page Punchers video. I think Hawk Girl actually does look great. And Swamp Thing shows up in here at some point, also looking fantastic. Boom. I don't know. Ultimately, this feels rushed. If you're getting the Page Punchers and you're opening them instead of keeping them in the box, then you're going to wind up with 4 of these issues. I recommend throwing all of them out. It's not worth keeping in my recommendation. Now, this is going to wind up in my recycling bin. It's not. It's serviceable at best. It is a fine story, I guess, if you are already familiar with the characters. It is not a good introduction, as I think it should be, to the DC Universe, to these characters, about who they are. It assumes you already know who the characters are, and just goes from there. Throws them into a very loose story that throws all of these characters and a few others together. I don't know. It's exactly what you expect it to be from a roughly free comic packed into a toy. Lastly, Image. I read the first issue when that came out. This is issue 3, so this came out, well, here it says June. It's currently September. I wasn't a fan of issue 1, and I stopped paying attention to it, but I should have kept reading because this is an anthology series, and the creators, the stories that are in each issue, vary. So issue 3 has a new Rat Rack story, Rumble, and Rumble is phenomenal. It's one of those series that I think didn't so much end as stopped, and I hope it continues at some point, but seemingly it's been dead for a couple of years. But Rumble, phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of James Herron, and the Arcudi writing in this, as well as BPRD, is phenomenal. So if you have not read Rumble, I absolutely recommend it. James Herron does the early issues, and then the second half of the series is with has art from David Rubin. I gotta talk about him in another video, and I still don't know how to pronounce his name. But so I paid, what is it, $6 for 8 pages of story, but I loved it. It still has that old Rumble magic. You can see here. I don't know if you're unfamiliar with James Herron, then I absolutely recommend picking up anything that has his art on it, because he is a wonder to behold. I will be getting 2 future issues of this. I believe issues 6 and 8 both have Casanova, and Casanova, it was a series a long time ago from Matt Fraction and Gabriel Fabio Moon. I love both those guys, Ba and Moon. Fraction, I also think, is fantastic. I follow them whenever I can, whenever they're doing something new. And I very much want to get to doing some Saturday videos on the Brazilian twins. However, I'm trying to get through some of the more questionable material in here, the stuff that I don't remember, before I get to the stuff that I know that I enjoy. So it might still be a while, but I have a bunch of their stuff. So I'm very much looking forward to a couple of future issues of this. They're probably also going to be 8 pages, and I'm largely going to ignore the rest of this. I wasn't a fan of the Jeff Johns' story, and then I did read this one here because this is the same creative team, to my knowledge, the same universe as Frontiersman and Antioch, that is starting tomorrow, I believe, for you, next week for me. I don't know. I skimmed over the other stories in this, but Rumble's the only one that I actually read. So that is highly enjoyable. If you want to spend $6 for 8 pages, that's your decision. I've already made mine. And that is everything that I have for this catch-up video. Image is a very much mixed bag, as I originally said in that first video. It's an anthology series, so anthologies by nature are going to be hit or miss, but structurally I think I expect Image to do better. I've literally put together better anthologies than this, in my opinion. Just, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. But 20th Century Men is, I don't know. Try it if you're interested. It was not for me, ultimately. Public Domain, I think, is great. DC Mech is, I don't know. Seemingly everyone is doing mech suits the last couple of years, and I don't know, maybe it's going to be something else next. Before this, it was, what, vampires? Everyone versus vampires. And I wonder what the next thing is going to be. And 8 Billion Genies, I do recommend. It's very, very interesting and highly enjoyable. And if the universe, or if the world is this wrecked after 8 weeks, then I really wonder, because it should be next 8 months, right? You would expect 8 months to come next, and then 8 years and 8, what, decades? So by the end of this, it's going to be very far in the future, and I don't know. I have no idea what to expect. So that is everything for this catch-up video. As always, I get my books from a local comic shop. If you don't know where yours is, you can use this URL to find the one closest to you. Thanks for watching.